Hey gang, today we're going to look at how to build a bass trap. Whether it's for tracking or mixing, these things are absolutely critical for recording. Fortunately, they're fairly simple to build and for not very much money. So I'm sure you guys have all seen the ads for various acoustic treatment solutions. The cheap foam treatments, honestly, really don't work very well. And some of the other ones are pretty fucking expensive, but they are necessary. Besides giving you a clearer picture of what's really going on in your mix, they're also great in a live tracking room. Whether or not it's your drum room or your guitar cabs. I used to struggle with the bottom end of my guitar sound, and I mean, it gave me no end of grief. I would have to literally like shovel the bottom out of my guitar sound, and I could never figure it out why. And then, hope I got it right, run back and forth to the car, and it was just a big nightmare. Anyway, I built some traps and the issue went away. I mean, like, it just freaking vanished. No more problems. Now the object here is just to hang rigid insulation on a wall. That's it. But we want to do it in a way where it will stay up and you won't inhale fiberglass particles, because this stuff is some really nasty shit. The real trick I find in building traps is finding rigid fiberglass, because your local big box home improvement retailer does not stock this stuff. You're better off trying your local building supply company. The one where you see all the local contractors go, chances are they're probably going to have it. So stay out of the big boxes. We use rigid fiberglass because it's insulation that's been like hyper compressed, and it has excellent sound absorption qualities, especially in the mids and the low mids and the bass. Usually this stuff goes by the name of Corning 703, but for this build I've found some Canadian stuff called Manson FSK, and Knopf makes the same stuff as well. I'm using 2 foot by 4 foot sheets measuring 2 inches deep, and I'm stacking them one on top of the other for a total of 4 inches. Particular stuff I have has a foil coating on one side, and I thought it was going to be an issue, but actually it's not. It actually makes it a little bit easier for building this type of trap, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so once we've sourced the rigid fiberglass, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some 12-foot steel studs, a drill, rivets and rivet gun, tin snips, cloth, and a hot glue gun, and if you've got drywall, a pack of monkey hooks. All we're doing here is building a frame for the fiberglass with the steel studs. We take a 12-foot section and measure out at 2 feet and 4 feet, and then cut a couple little triangles out so we can fold the metal into a U-channel. Now that we've got the bottom part of the frame complete, we measure out a 2-foot section from another steel stud and cut that completely away. Okay, just remember insulation's nasty stuff, so. Got the flowered fucking gloves I stole from my wife, these will work. Fit your first piece of fiberglass into the U you've just created with the foil facing up. Next, fit the second piece with the foil facing down. This should slide fairly easy. This was kind of an added bonus. I wasn't expecting to get this, but it worked out pretty good. Now take care to make sure the insulation is being placed under the lip of the steel stud, and this part can be tricky, but it does fit. Now, once you've got that together, you take your 2-foot section and use it to cap the frame. Drill holes in all 4 corners and use the rivets to make a permanent attachment. Now you've got a fully framed bass trap. Next up is covering the trap with cloth. If we were using wood frames, staples would be appropriate, but since my woodworking skills are pretty much non-existent, steel studs are the way to go for me anyway. And to attach the cloth to steel, we're using hot glue. Measure out your cloth, glue it to the bottom end of the trap, and wrap it completely around, gluing it down at various points along the stud where the cloth can be pulled tight. Now, I'll admit this is not where my skill lies, and I'm sure many of you guys can do a much tidier and better job than I can. I just wrap it and glue it down and kind of fold all the excess cloth around the back where nobody's going to see it once it's on the wall. Okay, once you've got it glued down, there you go. You've got a bass trap. The first place you want to put these is right in the corners of your room. Bass tends to build up there the most. If you put these floor to ceiling, you'll get a gigantic improvement in the bottom end. What's also great is that these work as high and mid-frequency absorbers as well. You can place these along the middle of a wall and they'll help knock down excessive reflections and standing waves. The trick is to make sure you've got a little bit of space behind them, maybe an inch or two. I've found that actually those like circular eye hooks you can drill in work great as spacers. And you can use monkey hooks to mount them on drywall. I've got to say the monkey hook is quite a clever invention. Mounting things on drywall has always been a gigantic pain in the ass. And this is a toolless solution that uses the classic arch form to take up the weight. Very clever. The trap weighs about 14 pounds, but the hooks I'm using are rated for 50 pounds. I tried hanging the wide end of the traps lengthwise, but the steel just isn't strong enough in the middle there to hold the mast without bending. So you're best off hanging these from the 2-foot section, like vertically. You can hang the steel directly on the monkey hook. It's strong enough and is spaced out from the wall just enough as well. It actually was kind of a happy accident. Wasn't expecting that. Very cool. So there you go, a room full of traps and absorbers. To demonstrate what's really going on, here's what the room sounds like before and after. Okay, all traps removed from the room.